Hello guys, today I have some news for you guys regarding the Intel new microcode patch that Intel provided in the first week of the August to their board partners like ASUS and MSI, and I think this code has the solution for the problem of 14th and 13th gen CPUs, and the news is published on wccftech.com. Intel's OX129 microcode mitigates 14th gen and 13th gen CPU instability issue. Benchmarks reveal no performance downgrades. Team Blue decided to solve the instability issue earlier than expected. Industry sources said we could have a new microcode drop by mid-August. Still, Intel agreed to be one step ahead, providing motherboard manufacturers with the new OX129 microcode. In the first week of August, ASUS and MSI became the first firm to offer the new microcode patch in their BIOS update. Unfortunately, JAYZTWOCENT managed to benchmark 14th gen CPUs with the new microcode, giving us a detailed look at how the performance has changed. So, JAYZTWOCENT decided to compare the new OX129 microcode on ASUS motherboard against the previous OX123 microcode, which is an older firmware, versus the OX125, which addresses the ETVB bug. The OX123 patch was released in May and brought in Intel's baseline settings. This was done to see how far the Intel has come in terms of optimization brought in with set of the microcores within the May-August timeline. JAYZTWOCENT tested the new OX129 patch on Intel's Core i9-4900K CPU, which constitutes a majority portion of the unstable CPUs out there. And starting with the benchmark, the microcode was tested on Cinebench R23, and the multi-threaded results obtained showed that the performance hasn't taken much of a hit when compared to OX123 microcode. However, with single core, there is a slight uplift instead of down, going up from 2336 points to 2345 points. There was a noticeable drop in performance when the chip was compared at Cinebench 2024 multi-thread benchmark, dropping from 2136 to 2124. The results were consistent when tested in environments such as Geekbench, showing that in general performance hasn't seen much of a downgrade. However, the biggest performance changes was seen with TimeSpy Extreme CPU test, in which scores went from 11,941 to 11,264, and that's a marking of solid drop of 700 points. While the reason behind such a drop is uncertain yet, it's more likely associated with the new microcode. Moving on to gaming benchmarks, titles such as The Shadow of Tomb Raider and Cyberpunk 2077 was tested, and to our surprise, the performance drop was negligible and non-existent in some cases as well. As we can see here in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the old ones with the new ones, OX129 versus OX123, the FPS were 301 against 300, negligible. And in Cyberpunk 2077, the FPS were 236 and now it's 229. Comparing core clock, CPU temperature and core VIDs, it looked like there wasn't any sort of noticeable drop or increase in them, which shows that in general the new OX129 microcode hasn't deteriorated the performance at all, and the performance differences are well in the margin of error. Of course, if you compare it to the pre-instability era, the results are quite lower, but given that we have now reached a pivot point, it's safe to say that Intel's new OX129 microcode has brought stability to 14th and 13th gen CPU platforms. Meanwhile, Intel has also shared more info on OX129 microcode patch, which can be seen here. Intel is currently distributing to its ODM partner a new microcode patch 129 for Intel 13 and 14th gen desktop processors, which will address incorrect voltage requests to the processors that are causing elevated operating voltage. And for all 13 and 14th gen desktop processor users, this patch is being distributed via BIOS update, not available through operating system updates. Keep that in mind, guys. If you want to update it, you have only BIOS option via your vendor and not through operating system update. Intel is working with its partner to ensure timely validation and rollout of the BIOS update for system currently in services. And in addition to extended warranty coverage, Intel has released 3 mitigating related to instability issues commonly experienced as consistent application crashes and repeated hangs. First of all, Intel default settings to avoid elevated delivery impacted to the processors was released on May 2024, and second patch 0125 to fix the ETVB issue in Core i9 processors on June 2024, and now the third microcode patch was on August 2024 to address the elevated voltage issue. Intel currently analyzes finding there is a significant increase in the minimum operating voltage across multiple cores on affected processors due to elevated voltages. Elevated voltages event can accumulate over time and contribute to the increase in V minimum for the processors. The latest microcode update OX129 will limit voltage request above 1.55 volt as preventing mitigating for processor not experiencing instability symptoms. This latest microcode update will primarily improve operating condition for KKFKS processors. Intel is also confirming based on extensive validation all future products will not be affected by this issue. Intel is continuing to investigate mitigating for risk scenarios that can result in V minimum shift on potentially impacted Intel Core 13 and 14 Gen desktop processors, and Intel will provide updates by end of August. Intel's internal testing utilizing Intel default setting indicates performance impact within run-to-run variation in 3D Mark, TimeSpy, WebExpert 4, Cinebench, R24 Blender with a few subtests showing moderate impacts. WebExpert Online Homework Puget Bench GPU effect score for gaming workload tested performance has also been within run-to-run variation. For example, Cyberpunk 2027, as we shared above in the testing of JAYZTWOCENT tested by himself, Shadow of Tomb Raider, Total War Hammer 3 Mirrors of Madness, with one exception showing slightly more impact was Hitman 3 Dartmoor. However, system performance is dependent on configuration and several other factors. And for unlocking Intel Core 13 and 14 desktop processor, the latest microcode 129 will not prevent users from overclocking if they so choose. Users can disable the ETVB setting in their BIOS if they wish to push above the 1.55 volt threshold. As always, Intel recommends users proceed with caution. However, overclocking their desktop processor as overclocking may void their warranty and or affect system health via Intel. And we have still witnessed its long-term stability given our past experience. While the above results are a sigh of relief, and we hope that this patch will be great solution for the 13 and 14 gen processor, and all we have to is wait and see whether the microcode has healed the damage that is